Welcome back to Cause 3D, and today we're going to talk about probably my favorite printer that I've ever used. And guess what? I've been running this printer for 2 years and 1 week today. So we've run it through its paces, and we're going to talk about the Creality K1 Max. Let's get to it. Thank you so much for supporting our channel. Make sure that you hit that like button down below, subscribe, leave a comment, because it's those things that help support this channel for free and let us do more content for you. All right guys, so I'm over here in the corner of my shop, and as you can see, I've got 3 Creality K1 Maxes, and I get asked frequently when we're at cons and even through email and YouTube. People ask me, what is my favorite printer? And I have to admit, this one right here is probably my favorite printer that I've ever had and still is currently. Now, don't get me wrong, the Prusa XL is fantastic. And of course, we've done a video before on the ComGrow. If you haven't watched that, I'll put a link up at the top. Also, we have a Creality K2 on down. But I have to say that the K1 is by far the superior printer of anything that I've used up to this point in my 3D printing career. And we're going to go over why. So let's start with a few obvious things. It is a Core XY printer. It's a fully enclosed printer. Now, I don't leave the top on it very often because when you're printing PLA, PLA+, I don't like to have the chamber heated because it does cause problems, and you're not supposed to run it with the top on it, so you do want a little bit of airflow. But when you're printing PETG and especially ABS, which we don't print a lot of ABS, but when we do, I do have the top on. It's just a phenomenally well-built, solid printer. It does have the belt cables, direct drive. And the direct drive, I was a little surprised on this one. I did not expect it to be able to print TPU as well as it does. I'm very happy and very grateful for that. I haven't printed a lot of TPU on it. From what I have printed, it's come out great with no problems. The bed is 300 millimeters by 300 millimeters, 300 millimeters high. So it is a 300 millimeter cubed print area. That usually is enough for the majority of the things that we have to print as far as helmets go. We do our jetpack parts. Jetpack bodies even fit on this. Our print speed is 300 millimeters per second. We don't always print that high. If we want a higher detailed part, then we'll typically scale the speed back down to about 250 millimeters per second. It has the auto bed leveling capability with the LiDAR bed leveling, and I have to say that was a game changer when we got this one, because I have had very, very few failed prints. The prints that have failed are because of bed adhesion, which I'll talk about in a second. Now, when we first unboxed these, the first one took us about 15 to 20 minutes to assemble because it's a very simple, pull the packing material out, undo a couple things, and you're ready to print. You do have to do the input and the shaping tests, which calibrates the machine, and we run those probably about once every 2 months typically. And you could visually see a change in your prints when they come off the bed to where you go, all right, it's time to rerun that. Now you'll notice that I have my spool back here. It was just easier with my pegboard. The spool actually attaches to the back of the printer, is where it's intended to attach, and I hate it. I think that is the dumbest design on something like this, especially when you're lining them up the way that we do here. I do know that there are files online that you can actually put your spool on the side of the machine, so that's helpful instead of having it in the back. Creality does have the touchscreen interface, which quite honestly, I have had zero problems with this. I know some people have, but I have had zero problems with it, and quite frankly, I love it. On this machine, I do run Creality Print. You can also run Orca Slicer, which is a better slicer, but Creality Print allows me to do one thing that Orca Slicer currently does not allow me to do, and that is to transfer my files that I'm ready to print wirelessly. So currently all of our machines are set up wirelessly. I do not use a thumb drive to start my print. Now, on average, these 3 machines were purchased at the same time back in 2023. And I will say that they have hundreds of hours. The price point of this machine is around $720, $750, at least on Amazon. I highly recommend it for the value. The price versus the value is one of those things that I always weigh when I'm buying a new 3D printer. If it's under $1,000, is the quality good? If it's over $1,000, is the quality exponentially better? And that determines whether or not I typically go to buy a machine. With this particular machine, the K1, actually outperforms a ton of other printers that I've used, especially in the last 3-5 years. Now, as technology advances, these printers should be better. The one thing that this machine has over the other ones that I currently use and have used in the past is speed. Speed is not always the best thing, but because of the fast speed, the quality is still there. And that's kind of rare. Now, a few pros and cons about this machine. One, I want to start with a big pro. And it's going to sound like it's a negative, but it's not. The amount of noise that this machine makes compared to other machines in the past is actually, it's really not that loud. The loudest thing that you'll run into is when the head is trying to print something in the back corner and this wire guide ends up contacting with the side of the machine and you'll have a clicking sound. Other than that, the machine is actually quite quiet. Now, I do run it in a 30 by 30 shop out here, so that does make a difference. If you have this in your bedroom, that's probably going to be a detriment to you in a small area. Another pro, as I've already mentioned, is the wireless printing. For me, I love to be able to pull out my laptop and sit at my workbench or at a different workbench and to be able to go ahead and slice it in the slicer and shoot it on over. And the program itself is extremely simple to use. Now, Creality Print isn't the best, but it works for what I need it for. And if you're starting into 3D printing, it's actually relatively easy to use. Let's talk about adhesion. Now, the beds, I still do the old school glue stick on them. And the reason I do is because I have noticed that on these plates, if you're trying to print directly on them, I do have adhesion problems. But once I started using my glue stick again, I almost eliminated that completely. And the majority of the prints that we've done in the past 2 years, I can't even come up with off the top of my head a print fail that hasn't been my fault due to just putting up bad supports. The machine hasn't failed me. Out of all 3 of them, the machine just will not fail me on a print for the most part. So let's talk about the only con, in my personal opinion, about this printer. It's the spool holder. The spool holder is actually set up to go in the back. I can't have that in my shop, so I came up with a super simple, easy fix for me. Now, for you, it might be a little bit different. But they do make spool holder adapters that you can download from Thingiverse, print them on to put on the side of your machine. So that being said, there really aren't that many cons. Let's talk about some of the maintenance that I've had to do on this machine. It's been extremely minimal. I have had to replace my Bowden tube at one point because of the curve where it is. I did have the top on printing quite a bit of PET G for a while, and it actually did rub a hole in the tube, so I had to replace that. Took all of 5 minutes. Now, loading the filament, it is a little bit tricky at times because you do have to get past the filament sensor. What I usually do is cut my filament at a 45-degree angle, give or take, and usually a little finagling, it passes right through. Going back to maintenance, the only thing that we've replaced on any of these 3 machines, and this one in particular is getting ready to have it done again, is the extruder gears. I have noticed that over the course of time, but remember, I have hundreds of hours on this single machine right here. We did have to replace the extruder gears, and I'm about ready to have to do it over here on this other one because I did notice a little bit of a clicking the other day, and I thought it's time to replace the gears again. Other than that, your normal maintenance, as long as you read your manual and you do put your grease on correctly and that sort of thing, it's been a phenomenal machine, at least for me. This is by far my favorite machine. I'd buy another one in a heartbeat if one of these went down. So just to say at the end of the video, I am not affiliated at all with Creality. They did not send me a machine to try. I had to purchase these on my own. Again, I will say this is one of my favorite machines in the shop. Probably my favorite just because I have the speed element to it. My second favorite machine would be the Prusa XL, only because of the quality, but it prints at half the speed that these print at. So if you're looking to get a helmet done for a cosplay, you can print a helmet out in 22 hours usually. And saving time on printing gives you more time to work on that object in your hand. But the best part is the quality is still very high. Therefore, you're spending less time sanding, once it comes off the print bed. So I want to thank you guys for watching this video today. Hopefully you learned something. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe for me. We really appreciate it. Leave a comment. I mean, tell me if you have one of these. If you have one, if you had a good or a bad experience with them, because I found that most people have good experiences with them. So hopefully this is helpful, and we'll see you in the next video.